welcome to Chapter 2.2 Photoshop Blending Modes. Let's get started. Blending modes are all about blending the pixels you are working with. A tool blending mode affects how the colors or actions taken or caused by a tool blend with the colors that exist on an active layer. The layer blending modes affect how each color of the active layer blends with the colors on the layer below it. When we choose a Photoshop blend mode, we are essentially asking Photoshop to blend our selected layer with the layer below based on whatever blending mode we've selected. So essentially, depending on the mode, pixels from the top layer are going to alter the color and luminosity of those on the underlying layers. Blending modes, they enable a user to create a variety of special effects. With Photoshop, this can be accomplished through two methods: transparency and blending modes. Both modes control how two sets of pixels interact with each other. First, let's talk about transparency. With transparency, what you're going to do is specify the opacity of either the layer or the painting or editing tools that you're going to work with. So I can add transparency to my image by changing the opacity of a layer or by changing the opacity of the painting or editing tool I'm going to use. Let's start here with this photo I've got up. And if you notice, down in my layers panel, I've got my background layer. And then I added a fill layer with just a color, and I toggled the visibility off, but I'm going to turn it back on. Well, now, because this layer is on top, that blue is overpowering this background layer, so I don't even see the photo that's there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the opacity of this fill layer to let this background layer show through, and then I'm going to have that hint of blue on it. That's my goal. So I'm going to go to, I need to select my fill layer, and I need to go to the opacity right here in the layers panel, and I'm just going to drop that arrow down and then drag my slider until I get the effect that I want. Now obviously I can go, if I leave it at 100, it's totally opaque and you can't see my photo, my image. If I take it down to 0, that's like eliminating this layer altogether, because none of that fill color are even there. But as I drag it up, you'll notice it gets that kind of blue color to it. And I can keep going depending on what effect I'm looking for. And I think I like it. Oh, I like that 50. I think there, that's good. Okay. What I did was I changed the opacity of my fill layer just by dragging that slider down to reveal the background image behind it. Now we've taken a look at opacity on the layers from the layer perspective. What about opacity from the painting or editing tool perspective? The painting and editing tools section, which is right here, okay? This section of tools, they basically have blending modes right up here in the control panel. They have blending modes, and in addition to that, they also offer opacity. So let's go back to our photo. We're going to choose our paintbrush tool, and I'm going to use a leaf brush. And if you notice, right now my blending mode is on darken. Well, I'm going to take that back to normal, because right now I want to take a look at the opacity of it. Now right now it's 100%. So whatever I paint, and notice my size, I'm going to increase that a little bit so we can really see our leaf. Okay, now my foreground and background colors are black and white, and I'm going to change that right, I did a blue when I was working with a layer. So I want to do another color that's going to, let's go with a hot pink. There we go. Okay, now when I go to paint over my photo, it's going to come out hot pink, and my opacity right now is 100%. So look what happens there. Okay, I'm going to go back in my history and take that away, and I'm going to start over, and this time I'm going to drop that opacity down so that the leaf is itself a little see-through. Oh, whoops, I ended up on my fill layer. There we are. Okay, now let's see what happens. Look at that, because now I could put this right on my photo, but it won't matter because you can see through it. And then if I choose to, I can change that opacity way up there and get some darker around these edges. And then if I want to put, some lighter ones over my person here, then I can just drop that opacity down. So that deals with transparency in terms of blending pixels that we're working with. And we dealt with opacity from a tool, a painting and editing tool perspective, as well as opacity from a layers perspective.